I knew from a young age that playing in college could be possible if I worked really hard. So pretty early on, I knew I wanted to play as long as possible. I love field hockey, so the goal was to play Division I, and I wanted to be here. My heart's always been here. My dad was always very he understood wrestling is his sport, field hockey is my sport. He was never my coach. He never tried to be my coach. He was always a supporter. Cool. But the best kind of support and just person I could go to for advice ever, or even just training regimen, anything like that.
How was being immersed in such a high level of sport in your family and growing up around that, how did that shape your outlook on how you perceived sports? Zoë Bormet, welcome to Hail to Her.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So you have been the face of Ann Arbor in Michigan athletics since I've been here. It's been so cool to see everything that you've done as a field hockey player, but being an Ann Arbor local, I'm so excited to have you here and talk about how that shaped you. You started your career as a freshman here, and you're the only one in your class. So I wanted you to talk about the beginning of your experience at Michigan playing field hockey.
Yes, it was a very unique experience, something that has never happened before. There's never been a class of one. It was a bit of a fluke. I was supposed to, have a class like any other class, but between the COVID fifth years and the reallocation of money, we had a lot of fifth years coming back. They were possibly going to take one international student, and those just didn't work out, fell through. So it was just me. And I would say it was a mixture of things. It was at first very intimidating, just coming into a team, knowing it was just me in South Quad, all of those kinds of things. But I think it would have been a lot more challenging if I wasn't in an environment that I was already a bit familiar with, and, had some girls on the team that I'd been playing with a while in high school or in club. So it really helped that I had a support system. I was fairly familiar with the university, had some connections going into it. But yeah, it was really strange. It was a blessing in disguise, though, because it really pushed me to get out of my comfort zone, meet a lot of people. I was really, really social in the dorms. And I know that if I had a class, I probably would have mostly stayed comfortable with those people in that group. So I know so many more people here at this university than I would have if I had a class. So it really pushed me in a lot of different ways.
I think that's so cool too, because you were a year younger than me. And I remember when you came in and you were the only one in your class, and you kind of were taken under the wing of the girls in my class. And I felt like I always saw you with them in pictures and just in social settings. But who did you rely on in those moments in the dorms? Who were you surrounding yourself with, and what did you learn about yourself during that time?
Yeah, I would say the team did a great job about, like you said, just taking me under their wing and looking after me and really helping me connect with everybody in the different grades. I'd say, honestly, it made me realize how independent and self-reliant I really can be. I had to make sure I was on top of everything, my schedule. If I didn't wake up to my alarm, I wasn't gonna make it. That was probably my biggest fear all the time. Wow. Of just I just had to be on top of it. And I think that was a developmental thing that has really aided me probably throughout all of college, just having to be really independent and having to really rely on myself. So I think that was the biggest thing I took away, is that I'm able to do a lot of things on my own that, I wasn't challenged to do all by myself before. But I'd say in those moments in the dorms, one of my closest friends was Farah. She's the first person I met on campus, person I met in the dorms, one of my first friends here at Michigan. She's on the gymnastics team in my grade. And she was my girl in the dorms. We leaned on each other throughout the whole year.
Did you live together? Who was your roommate?
No, we didn't.
The alarm thing in itself is so traumatizing. So I'm sure you had to grow up really quickly, and you couldn't rely on the other people around you to get you going. You really did have to be self-sufficient and do those things. And I think that's really cool. So you grew up in Ann Arbor, correct? And your dad is the wrestling coach here, and your mom got her her PhD from Michigan. So tell me about that. Have you always been born and raised in Michigan, or what was your growing up experience like leading you here?
Yes. So I was born in Naperville, Illinois. At the time, my mom was still working on her dissertation from afar, and my dad had started a wrestling club there that my mom and dad like pretty much like grew from the ground up together. So I grew up there, but Maize and Blue has always run very deep in my veins and my family. So always been Michigan fan. Pretty much every tie in my family between my parents really leads back to Michigan. They met here when my dad was volunteer coaching and my mom was in grad school. So we'd have, trips up to Ann Arbor and visit and stuff. But yeah, then we moved out here when my dad got the job, and it was a great opportunity for my mom to finish her dissertation.
And what was that in?
Yes, sociology.
Okay.
Yes,
Very
yes.
Cool.
Her major was sociology, and her dissertation itself was she's writing about adverse childhood experiences.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's awesome. So your family's been here since then. And so was the dream always to play field hockey here? What was your field hockey experience like to lead you here?
Yeah, I would say, I think seeing the athletic side and my dad coaching and everything, I knew from a young age that, playing in college could be possible if I worked really hard. So pretty early on, I knew like I wanted to play as long as possible. I love field hockey. So the goal was to play Division I, and I wanted to be here. My heart's always been here. And I think it was a really easy path here, just being in Ann Arbor, being in the community. Ann Arbor is such a great town. It's like a big, small town at the same time.
Exactly.
The whole community really rallies around Michigan athletics, and it's a really special place. And I was lucky to see the athletic side through my dad, and then also the academic side through my mom. She does research and data for the university as well. So just kind of seeing the athletic rigor along with the academic rigor, and just loving Ann Arbor for its like character and quirks. It was just really easy. There's nowhere else in my mind that I wanted to be.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what was home life like for you? Like your dad is coaching all the time and your mom was obviously doing her dissertation. So what was that like for you growing up with two really busy parents?
Yeah. I would say, well, on my dad's side, he travels so much. Like obviously in season, he's traveling for matches and all of that. But outside of season, recruitment just never stops. And then definitely the past few years with the increase of NIL, it just has gotten busier and busier, for the most part in field hockey, my mom would take me to all the tournaments, all the practices, travel and all that kind of stuff. And anytime my dad could steal away a few hours and come to anything, he would as well. But yeah, I mean, two really busy parents doing their thing and pursuing their careers at a really high level. So it was always, time's a challenge, but we always made time for family. Family is really, really important. We have a bit of like a small, close family. So those people and those connections are really, really, really special. So yeah, busy, but myself too, just had so many different extracurriculars going on that everyone was just doing their thing. Yeah.
So speaking of travel, your dad was traveling a lot, obviously for the Olympics, and you went. And I think I remember seeing a video of you trying the viral chocolate muffins. And we talked about that with Savannah Sutherland on that show too. But tell me about your experience going and doing these things with him.
Oh my gosh, it was so cool. That was the first time I'd ever been out of the country. It was basically, my dad, I'm pretty sure I think it was that he had 5 wrestlers, and he's breaking history for Michigan wrestling in general, having that many athletes. And so it was just kind of the perfect storm where Abby, my teammate, Abby Tamer, I've been playing with her since 2015, and it was her first Olympic cycle. And then also with my dad having all those athletes, my mom and I were like, you know what? Like,
you gotta go.
We've never gone international to one of his competitions. Like, if we're ever gonna go, it's now. So we just gotta go. So it was awesome. Such a cool experience. Just on both sides, getting to see my dad like performing and doing his thing on like the highest stage in person was awesome. And then it was just completely surreal getting to see Abby, like, the girl we played together since we were so small, and just getting to see her do her thing. And it's like, it was a very surreal moment because we've literally, I'd say since 7th grade, we were always saying we knew she was going to go to the Olympics. Like there was never a question in anyone's mind that this girl was going to be an Olympian. So then seeing all her hard work, her dedication over the years, and all of us always saying like she's going to be an Olympian, she's going to be an Olympian. And then seeing her in person on that field was just
probably
like
the coolest thing
ever. It was the coolest.
Yeah.
It was the most special moment.
That's so cool. So were you there during that like the boat parade, or like were you on the boat?
I didn't go. I didn't even go. I was watching. It was raining. I was in the hotel room with my mom. We were watching it, but they were on the boat.
That's awesome. Okay, and then the chocolate muffins. How were they?
Yes, the chocolate muffin. Okay. I thought it was delicious. I snuck in with my dad didn't sneak in. I checked in, but I stayed after hours and they were like searching for me. I was supposed to leave way earlier. But anyway, I went in with him and he smuggled out one of those chocolate muffins for me, gave it a try, saw the muffin man. He was just walking by. I saw him. And it was really good. And what's funny is actually a few days later, so in high school, there was, we had an exchange student, Elle, who was only at our school for a year. And I hadn't seen her in 4 years. And so I reached out to her and we met up and I was telling her, about the chocolate muffin and I tried it. And she was like, what's crazy is like, she's like, those are the worst muffins that are here. She's like, those are catered by like all the universities here all have like food catered by the companies. Those muffins are like 50 cents. Like those are the worst muffins.
Meanwhile, they're going
ever.
viral.
And everyone else is freaking out about them. But the actual locals, they know those are like the worst muffins. But I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. Did you try a local muffin?
Like, no, that was the only muffin I think I had. That was the only muffin I had there. And I thought it was great.
That's so funny. So how was being immersed in such a high level of sport in your family and growing up around that? How did that shape your outlook on how you perceived sports and playing at the Division I level?
Yeah. I mean, I think especially a sport like wrestling that is so intense. I mean, these guys kind of have to be able to do it all in terms of stamina, flexibility. I mean, they're weight cutting. They're wearing 2 pairs of sweatpants and turning up the heat to 90 degrees and practicing for 2 hours and then hopping on the Aerodyne for another 3 hours. Like, it's just a really, really intense, crazy sport. And I think just growing up around that and, the mentality around wrestling and, my dad was always very like, he understood like wrestling is his sport, field hockey is my sport. He was never my coach. He never tried to be my coach. He was always a supporter. Cool. But the best kind of support and, just person I could go to for advice ever, or even just training regimen, anything like that. So I think growing up around like him and his sport, really kind of, I would say it just ingrained a really deep value of like hard work, integrity, all those kinds of things. So, and then just watching him and watching, hearing about his career and all those kinds of things, I knew that I wanted to play as long as I could and at the highest potential I could. Yeah. So I think kind of just seeing his side of things, I think probably just lit up just passion, I would say, for me. Yeah.
That's so cool. I can't imagine, being surrounded by, you have a small family, but having such athletic people in your family, I think that's so cool. Because I remember when you came in and I was like, oh my God, like everyone's like the wrestling coach's daughter is on the field hockey team. And I'm like, I can't imagine like just having that kind of athleticism in the family, but that's awesome.
People wouldn't even ask me by name. They would just come up and say, you're the wrestling coach's daughter, aren't you? I would say,
yeah,
that is me.
Like,
that's me.
That's funny. Okay. So let's talk about Team Impact and the T-Wall Foundation. You do so much with so many different communities. And I want to talk about what you do, but also what got you into it with Team Impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. So I'd say my path with all of this started, I was very, very lucky that in the public school district here, we have really great peer-to-peer and peer mentoring programs, all from elementary school through high school. So I was very lucky that through all those years, I got involved and I had just really great friendships and connections with different people of differing abilities and working in those different classrooms. And I just really, really enjoyed that piece of school that was provided by the school system and stayed connected with those teachers and got even more involved in high school and different volunteer events and serving on the board as president and all those different things. So I really found a love for, advocating and being a supporter and ally of the disabilities community in high school. And it was actually a class. So every day I would go into the classroom for an hour, work with those students, work with the teacher. So there was a very dedicated space and time in my life for that. But then when I came to Michigan, my first year, freshman year, I felt such like a gap and loss of purpose with that structure being stripped because I no longer had that dedicated time to that. And so after I got through my first year, I realized that I just felt at a bit of a loss and a loss of vision, a loss of purpose, and a loss of kind of like, why am I here doing what I'm doing? I need to be a part of something bigger than myself. So that's when I realized that if it wasn't going to be like handed to me in a class schedule, that I needed to take initiative and find ways to get involved and find ways to, fill my cup and others at the same time. So that's when I was really fortunate to, find out about Team Impact. When I came in freshman year, it was the very end of a former match. Okay. But I think due to like COVID and she had some health issues and stuff, she only kind of was there. Her name was Lily. She was only around a couple times. And so I didn't really get to interact that much. I didn't really understand what Team Impact was. So then sophomore year, I talked with staff. I had an interview and I decided to apply for the fellowship. And that summer I went to the summit in Boston and it just completely just transformed everything for me. Getting involved with Team Impact, I would say, has been the highlight of my time here at Michigan. It's an incredible organization. And it just kind of snowballed from there once I, got more involved with Team Impact and we were matched with Charlotte. From there, I got in contact with the T-Wall Foundation and just got more involved with the community engagement staff here at Michigan and started trying to pull in more opportunities with different nonprofits and organizations and joined SAC this year. So I've just pretty much been finding any way I can kind of put my feelers out there and get more involved. It's just what I've been doing.
So tell me about what you do with Charlotte.
Yeah. So I guess Team Impact in general, as but many people may not know, it's a national nonprofit that matches chronically ill or disabled children with NCAA sports teams across all divisions. Really, really, really awesome because not only is it impacting those families and that individual, but it also is a completely transformational experience for the team itself to be a part of something, again, like bigger than them, bigger than their sport. And that really translates on the field as much as it does off the field. But as a fellow, and we have a leadership group for our team with Charlotte, I connect with her family, organize events, set up awareness events, awareness games, all those kinds of things. But really it's more about the small things like doing a movie night, having a sleepover, doing those little fun things where you're like really connecting on a personal level. But as a fellow, we're constantly spreading the word. We are actually in the process right now of creating a really big event this winter to fundraise money and stuff like that. Like outreach, our goal is to, big goal for Team Impact is to have every team matched across, the NCAA. And we're working towards there. It's really, really been expanding over the last few years. But that's our biggest thing too, is working on getting teams matched. This year has been great. We've had basketball matched, football matched. We had lacrosse matched. Yeah. Wrestling is about to get matched. Gymnastics is going to get matched. We've got a lot of stuff coming down the line. So really just pushing out the word, creating awareness for Team Impact and creating as many opportunities for collaboration, connection among all the matched families and alumni.
So how do the teams find the athletes, or how does Team Impact find these kids? How can we help, or how does that all work of matching?
Yes. So they are very, very intentional about their matching and the process and everything. So families can apply. They do a lot of medical outreach. Fellows will go and do medical outreach. We'll go to Mott Children's Hospital and talk to Child Life Support and Care, all those different people. But once they actually get applications, they go through a very long process to, vet families and, because it's quite a commitment. It's quite a time commitment. Parents have to be able to bring their children to games to practices to events, all that kind of stuff. So they really, really do a good job of making sure that the family is the right fit for the team. So it can be a lengthy process, but sometimes, like, for example, with Charlotte, it's like they found her and the match was just perfect and we got matched really quickly. And
she like so clearly loves you too. I love watching the videos of you with her, like pregame. She's like waving to the crowd and I'm like, I need to meet this girl because I feel like I'd have a ball with her.
Yes. Oh, she's the best. And I mean, you guys had a great match too. Tessa's amazing.
Yeah. But it is so cool, like, to do something bigger than yourself. And the parents always talk about how amazing it is for their kid and their family. But I think it's so amazing what the athletic department is doing for us to be able to see people that, we can learn from. And even when we go to Mott's Children's Hospital and we do those days where we meet the kids and do the hospital tours, I think that is like a check in your mind to be like, wow, like we have it so good. And to be able to like put everything into perspective, I think is really cool. But I love that you've been able to, be a leader in terms of all of these different foundations. So what do you think has been the most rewarding part about your relationship with Charlotte?
Honestly, I would say over the time she's been with us, it's just been like really seeing her confidence soar and her just like blossom and her personality come out and everything. And her mom last year told me that she's been seeing her confidence not only like when she's with us and the team, but that extend outside of that, like in the classroom, at school, all those kinds of things. So I think for me, I'm most proud of for her and for her family and everything is how much it's impacted her, like, just as a human in her development. I think, being around, strong women is important, and young girls seeing, and exactly what you're doing right here, with everything you're doing. It's like young girls seeing strong women, smart women, owning their space, amplifying their voice is so important because, she's seeing that and she does it, So I think that's been the most fulfilling. But for myself, it's just like, this is truly a friendship that will last a lifetime. Like Charlotte she's like a sister. She is genuinely a sister. So like she will be in my life forever. That family is never going to be able to get rid of me.
Yeah. That's so cute. I love that. And speaking of strong women, Marsha passing the torch to Christy. Let's pivot and talk a little bit about field hockey, which is your sport and why you're here. But let's talk about that transition with the coaching staff. And I know sadly your season just ended and you're coming back, thank God. But tell me about that transition and what your season looked like.
Yeah. I mean, Marsha is a legend. She is incredible. I feel so lucky to have had the opportunity to be coached by her and have 3 years with her. She was a really, really, really incredible coach, mentor. She develops humans and people, not just players. So I'm very lucky, and I feel super blessed to not only be a part of the end of Marsha's era, but also the beginning of Christy's era and her legacy. And the transition was just very smooth. Like, even though it was super emotional and a mix of many emotions, like sadness and like complete shock, honestly, that Marsha was leaving, but also so much excitement and anticipation and hope for Christy. But the transition was really, really smooth. I mean, partially because we all are very familiar, obviously, with Christy, and we knew she's a shoo-in for the role, and I think what also helped was just the support too from the assistant coaches like Ryan Langford. He's just all in, so invested in the team and the program and the girls, and they brought back on board actually a former player, Claire Brush. I want to say she graduated in 2017, but she went to my high school. She played for my club. Like, I've known her for years. I played with her sister, and she's been such a wonderful addition. And we added on a goalie coach, Erin Higgins, and she's been a great addition. So I think just the people made the transition very smooth. And I think the familiarity of, like, even though Christy is evolving her skill set as a coach and evolving how she coaches, now being in this role as head coach, we also are still very familiar with her style of coaching, her style of communication, all those kinds of things. And a lot of the tactics and traditions have all been consistent, because it still is like Michigan field hockey, and all those different things a lot of things have remained, but also she's brought in a lot of new things to make it like her own and her program. So it's been really great.
So what does her leadership look like? I remember Marsha, we practiced on your field once last year, and she came out and spoke to our team, and she got done talking. We were all like, we could just run through a brick wall right now. Like, she was so like passionate and just like, do it. And what is her leadership style like compared to Christy's? Like, what did that look like?
Let's see. I'd say, yes, Marsha is a very, what you see is what you get. Like, she is honest, she is blunt, like, and that's what you love about her, because you're going to get the truth from Marsha. She's fiery, she's passionate, all of those things. And you'd see it on the sideline too. Like, she's getting carded. She's screaming. She's screaming at everyone, screaming at us, screaming at the refs, screaming at, doesn't matter, But again, it's because she's just so passionate about what she does. And Christy has an equivalent amount of passion and honesty and integrity and all those different things. But it definitely is, she even when she was assistant coach, she was she's very stoic. Yeah. She's very calm. Of course, she has her moments of like great emotion and the ups and downs, as any coach does. But I'd say Chris, and one thing that our theme this whole season was family. That was Christy's like coined term. We had it on the back of our warm-up shirts. Our theme was family. And I think that really shows through in how she coaches. And she really values the interpersonal relationships and the connections with her players. So I think that's something she really, really championed this year, was connection and family.
And a lot of that family is from Ann Arbor. I've noticed how much tradition of field hockey there is in Ann Arbor, but just Michigan, period. What do you think makes the talent in Ann Arbor and in Michigan so good in the sport?
It's funny. Ann Arbor really, truly is such a little like epicenter and pocket of hockey. Because the truth is that field hockey in the US it can be a little bit of a niche sport, surprisingly, because overseas it's one of the most popular sports.
Men playing, I think,
it's
too.
huge. It's huge for men. It's a men and women's sport. Here in the U.S., it's strictly a women's sport. We have a national team, but we don't have any male club teams, or no college teams whatsoever, or NCAA teams. So it's a bit of a niche sport, and there's pockets where field hockey is really big. But I think those pockets are due to, people that come in and really make great influence. So, Ryan and his wife, Marin, they started a club called Fer-de-Lance. And then my club was Pinnacle Field Hockey, and Nancy Cox created that club. And she was like one of my hallmark coaches who had such great influence on me. But I think it comes from here in Ann Arbor. It's just this pocket of people and coaches who are really, really passionate about the sport and brought it here. And we have, the great program at Michigan where, this great talent is cultivated in these clubs and then fed out to, schools in the Midwest, especially. I think between those different coaches, and especially like Nancy Cox, her whole thing was, everything was just grow the game, grow the game, grow the game. So she worked really, really hard to put Michigan on the map for field hockey. And
I think that's cool because it really speaks to the level of field hockey that you guys have played for so long, because you just had your, I think it was the 50-year reunion or something, and everyone came back for alumni weekend, and you see the amount of people and the influence that all of these coaches are having on the community is the coolest thing, and really speaks to the Block M. My last question for you is, what would you tell young women looking to get into playing the sport in college, and what is the best way to utilize all different aspects and create such a well-rounded college career like you have?
Yeah, I would say one thing that I noticed coming to college that is a bit neglected in more of the developmental stages in, high school and all those kinds of things, is utilizing film. And it's a tough thing because, not all games are always going to be filmed, like, you know, before college, and sometimes at tournaments you would have to pay for the film and stuff. But I think one thing I really noticed, like, that made a huge difference and step up in my game was using film and rewatching your own film. But even if you can't watch your own film, watching really high level hockey, like international teams and all those kinds of things. I think watching yourself, watching play, watching skills, like, for some reason for me just took everything up a level. And I think seeing new tactics of play, you know, I think especially in high school or club hockey, positions can be very black or white. Like, if you're on the right side, you're on the right side. If you're in, you know, it's like once you come to the next level, things are so much more fluid, and the tactics are more fluid, and the press and, you know, the outlet, all the different structures are so much more fluid, and things are no longer as black and white, you know? So I think really, like, looking into some of those international levels, you can find them on YouTube. I would say, like, get on YouTube and watch some of the different structures, and, like, diversify your play and get familiar with other structures. So that's what I would suggest for on the field. But off the field, I would say just, I think for myself, the second I think a lot of athletes can relate to this, but I can be very, very self-critical. And a lot of athletes, I think myself included, have a bit of a perfectionist streak. And I can be very analytical about, like, you know, my play, and stats are great, but also I play my best, I realize, when I let go of that and I'm just in my flow and not overthinking and working myself up too much. So I think really working on allowing yourself to let go and play free and not worry about results and live and play in the present moment is when my play also took another step up, when I stopped worrying about all the external things or the stats or the results. Yeah. And I just enjoyed playing and, like, incorporated gratitude and realized that I'm so lucky every day to be healthy, be able-bodied, go to practice, like, have this, like, be in an environment every day of such a high standard of, like, play and just accountability, and surrounded by all these people who are pushing each other, you know? So all those different things, I think, like, really changed my perspective and made me realize how lucky I am to be playing. And I think that propelled my motivation towards playing at the next level in college even more. So I think the more you can get into that mindset earlier, the more successful and the more ready you'll be when you actually get to the college pitch.
So how do you think being involved in different things with team impact and everything that you do outside of field hockey, how do you think utilizing those passions helped you play better, or, like, kind of chill out almost on the field? Do you think so?
100%. I would say that before I got more involved at Michigan, my whole life, you know, if I wasn't in the classroom and I wasn't doing school, my mind was only on field hockey, and everything was field hockey. And I think that a lot of times we can just identify with our sport and equate our worth and our mood and anything to our sport and what's going on and how things are going. So I think my mind was so overloaded with hockey all the time. And the second I found other things that sometimes are even more important, you know, than the sport, that's what allowed me to let go, because I realized that I had all these other things in my life that were also important to me, and that took up a lot of my time and energy as well as just field hockey. So I think having outlets, having things that are that contrast from the sport and how much training and time you're spending training is really important, because the second I got involved with team impact and T-Wall and all that kind of stuff was, I think, lined up exactly with when field hockey started being even more enjoyable for me, because I had all of these great things going on outside of field hockey where I no longer felt like my identity and everything about myself was just field hockey. Like, I was more than a player. I had all these other things going on that were just as important to me as my sport.
Tell me about utilizing NIL. Like, I think one of the biggest parts about being an athlete and doing things outside of your sport is advocating for yourself and your brand. And you've done that. And I've seen your stuff with Blue Cross Blue Shield. I think you just did something with DTE, right? So tell me about any advice that you have for people trying to get involved outside of their sport in NIL.
Yeah, I would say that Well, I would say what I appreciate most about NIL to begin with is the opportunity to have a platform and, like you said, like share your voice, share your perspective, share your opinions, and like amplify your voice and the voice of other people. So I think the platform and the audience outreach is the most impactful part of NIL. And I think for myself, honestly, just doing things that I was passionate about was what led me to even find opportunities in NIL. Like, I don't feel like I really even broke into NIL whatsoever until I started getting involved so much in the community. So it's like finding things that you love and you're passionate about. That's when companies and businesses start to identify you and see you adding value to their image, you know, and their business, and want to bring you on as a part of that. Because, you know, it's like the places that the companies that I've worked with value community engagement and appreciate the different things I'm doing, or have seen the things I'm involved with. And that's kind of led the path. So I think just being really authentic and showcasing online what you love and what you like to do, whatever you like to do, it doesn't have to be community engagement, whatever you're into, like that's going to attract someone who aligns with that.
Okay, so tell me your favorite deal that you've done and then your dream deal.
Oh gosh, okay. I would say so far my favorite deal probably was the Blue Cross Blue Shield deal, because I think it was just so beautifully thought out and executed and filmed. For that, it was writing a letter to a woman who had the most influence in your life. So I wrote my letter to my mom, and also like they gave that to her, and then we received a response back, and it was a live reaction, and it was just really meaningful and powerful and emotional. And I think it was different than a lot of other, you know, deals that I've seen before. You know, it like actually had sustenance and meaning. So I really enjoyed that one. And then dream deal, goodness. It's funny, Alana just asked us this as a team for a TikTok. Gosh, I mean, I'd have to say like Delta. It's got to be like Delta or
just
stuff.
Let me fly free.
Like, let me travel the world.
Yeah.
Maybe StubHub.
Okay, I love that.
StubHub.
Yeah,
concerts
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I've loved hearing more about your story, but you're pretty inspiring. So I'm so excited to watch you in your 5th year.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
You're wonderful.